Welcome to TrumpetStudio.com presents the Ultimate Trumpet Podcast.
The only show dedicated to the reality of playing, where we treat the instrument not as a mystery, but as a discipline. Whether you're running through your morning routine or prepping for a massive symphony gig, we've got your back.
Today in the studio, we're unpacking a truly fascinating piece of writing called Tension versus Compression, the Make-or-Break Mechanics of the Upper Register by Michael Droste.
Adam, this article hits hard right out of the gate. Michael Droste starts by calling the upper register the universal wall. And it's true, isn't it? It doesn't matter if you're a high schooler trying to squeeze out a G just above the staff, or a seasoned lead player surviving the third hour of a brutal gig. High notes are the great equalizer.
They absolutely are. And the most frustrating part is the advice we've all been given for decades. Support more. Use more air. Tighten those corners. We've all heard it, and we've all probably said it. But as this article points out, those phrases are actually dangerous. They treat the trumpet like some mystical beast you have to wrestle into submission instead of a machine governed by applied acoustics.
Right. And that brings us to the core thesis of the article, the battle between two opposing physical forces, tension and compression. It's the difference between soaring over a big band with this brilliant, resonant lead sound and absolutely destroying your chops before the first set is even over.
Let's start with tension, because Michael Droste points out something fascinating here, the illusion of effort. Why does tension feel so right in the moment?
It comes down to basic human biology, the Valsalva maneuver. When your brain sees a high note coming up on the page, it immediately categorizes it as a difficult physical task. It's the exact same psychological trigger as picking up a heavy box. So what does your body do? It recruits auxiliary muscles. You clench your jaw, tighten your neck, hold your breath to stabilize your core. You brace for impact.
Exactly. If your fundamentals aren't rock solid to begin with, your body just defaults to that weightlifting response. And the article breaks this down into the anatomy of a tension-based player. It starts with the hands, the grip. You squeeze the horn, pulling the mouthpiece right into your face to literally force the notes out.
Then comes the squeeze. You pinch the red of your lips together. You're crushing the aperture, the opening where the air is supposed to escape, just trying to make it smaller.
And finally, the choke. This is where you see players looking like they're about to pass out. Neck veins bulging, throat closing up, shoulders rising to their ears, and the result? A pinched sound. Because you've crushed the aperture and tightened your throat, the tone gets thin, laser-like, and brittle. There's no core, no resonance.
But the cruelest irony, as Droste writes, is that tension feels like you are working hard. You're sweating, your face is strained, you feel like you're putting in 110%. And you might even squeeze out that high C, but the cost is massive. Tension is destructive. Pinning that brass against your embouchure cuts off the blood flow. You swell up, you bruise, and you blow your face out. Your recovery time suddenly jumps from minutes to days.
Because you're fighting your own body. And as the article says, the trumpet always wins.
Always. So what is the alternative? Compression. If tension is brute force and muscular gripping, compression is efficient, aerodynamic pressure. I love the garden hose analogy used here.
It's the perfect visualization. If you want the water from a garden hose to shoot further across the yard, you don't run back and squeeze the water tank tighter. You just put your thumb over the nozzle. You decrease the size of the exit point while maintaining the source pressure. The water naturally accelerates. High notes do not require more air volume. They require faster airspeed.
Which brings us to the 3 pillars of true compression. Pillar number 1 is core support. This is the water tank. But it's not about bearing down and doing an extreme crunch. It's an active, engaged release of air using your abdominals, intercostals, and diaphragm to create a steady, pressurized column of air. If that pressure drops or sags, your face instantly has to work twice as hard to keep the pitch up, which triggers the tension cycle all over again.
Pillar number 2 is my favorite. The tongue arch. Droste calls this the unsung hero of the upper register. Listeners, try this right now. Say the syllable ah. You'll notice your tongue sits flat and low in your mouth. Now say e.
Your tongue instantly rises, right? The middle and back arch up toward the roof of your mouth.
Exactly. That shrinks your oral cavity. When you channel your airstream through that smaller, elevated space, the airspeed increases exponentially before it even touches your lips. The tongue arch generates the speed, taking the burden entirely off the fragile muscles of your embouchure.
Which leads perfectly into pillar number 3, the embouchure. In a compression-based system, your embouchure is not the engine. It's just the gasket. The corners of your mouth stay firm and anchored, pointing slightly downward. But the center, the aperture, stays relaxed enough to vibrate freely. You aren't pinching. You're rolling the lips slightly inward to create a thicker cushion to withstand that fast air.
When the core support, the tongue arch, and that gasket align, magic happens. True compression. The air moves incredibly fast, your lips vibrate efficiently, and the sound gets huge. You are no longer forcing the horn. You're setting the physical conditions for the horn to respond.
So how does a player know which camp they fall into? The article gives a great self-diagnosis checklist. First is the air block test. If you inhale, lock your throat, hold the air, and then forcefully push it out with a glottal stop, that's tension. In a compression setup, the breath turns around seamlessly. The air is always moving.
Then there's tone quality. If your sound above the staff is thin, bright, and eventually chokes off, you're using tension. If it stays full, resonant, and keeps its core up to a high C, you're using compression.
And finally, the physical aftermath. Numbness, a red ring, jaw pain, neck pain, tension. If you just feel a healthy muscle fatigue but your lips are still responsive and you can play again shortly after, you're using compression.
The good news is that tension is a learned behavior, and anything learned can be unlearned. Reprogramming your approach starts with mastering the wind pattern away from the horn. Hold your hand in front of your face. Blow an ah syllable, you'll feel warm, slow air. Switch to e, and suddenly it's cold, fast, and focused. Notice how your face didn't have to tense up to do that? That's compression.
You can also incorporate lip bends. Play a G in the staff, bend it down to F sharp, and back up without changing your fingering. It forces a relaxed aperture, eliminates mouthpiece pressure, and builds control through air, not force. Practicing soft high notes is another great trick. Play them at a piano dynamic. If the note doesn't speak, don't push harder. Adjust your airspeed and your tongue arch instead.
It's all about finesse, and it all circles back to your daily routine. Your routine is your programming. If you are training response to air, building efficiency, and testing endurance properly, you'll be fine. Because when fatigue hits you on a gig, your habits take over. You have to train the right ones.
To quote Michael Droste, "Stop treating the upper register as a test of strength. It is a test of efficiency. Release the grip, arch the tongue, accelerate the air, let physics do the heavy lifting." When everything aligns, it stops being a fight and becomes a resonant, effortless extension of your voice.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Ultimate Trumpet Podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and tell others.
Yes, please subscribe, rate, and tell others about this great new resource.
If this deep dive into applied acoustics got you rethinking your setup, remember that new gear only magnifies your daily habits. To really build that symphonic engine or lead scalpel endurance, you need the right fundamentals.
Exactly. Head over to trumpetstudio.com to grab your copies of The Ultimate Warm-Up, The Ultimate Technical Study, and if you've got gig season coming up, The Ultimate Wedding Book.
Thanks for hanging out in the studio with us today. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Now go practice.